So, because my reading month is going great, you guys are going to have the right to a book review! Hello beautiful bookworms, my name is Katrina and welcome to my channel. And today, as I said on my intro, I'm gonna be doing a book review for one of the books that I'm reading for the Owls Readathon. And I'm gonna try and leave all of the information down below, including some vlogs or something that I have been doing, if I can. If I don't remember, I'm sorry, but yeah, I have my head on other places most of the time. So the book that I'm going to review today is called The Paper Magician, and it is by Charlie N. Holmberger. And it's going to be a non-spoiler review, but it's going to be also a fairly long one, I believe, because I have many points that I want to touch, including plot, writing, and other stuff. So if you want, grab some snacks and prepare yourself to the non-spoiler review of The Paper Magician. So, as in the title, Paper Magician, this book is a fantasy book, and it is fairly recently, actually. The Portuguese version of this book was published in 2017, although I believe that the English version of the book is already older. So that means it is fairly recent. It can be considered one of this year releases, so 2017-2018 releases, and I fairly enjoy it in a way. But in another way, I don't really think that I want to continue with the other books because this is a trilogy of books and now there's another companion book that is coming out about another magician in this world, and I am fairly certain that I don't really want to spend all my time reading it. And then you will ask, well, but if you're saying that you fairly enjoyed it, why do you say that you don't want to spend your time reading it? And so basically this book review is going to be why I think that this book is good, but why I think that it should have stopped here, or that I really don't want to read the rest of the things. So I put down the book because it was heavy to just gesticule with the book in the hand, and so I'm just gonna go through a little bit of a short what this is about kind of thing. So this book is about Sienna Twill, and she's a 19-year-old graduated from a magic school that you don't see very well on the inside, so you just know that it's a very difficult school to get in, that you have to work a lot, and that you can graduate in 1 year if you do the entirety of the courses in that year. So basically it is said that it's a very difficult school to get in, it's very expensive, and pretty much you have to work all of the days except Sunday when you don't have homework. So it's kind of a very difficult school for magic where only the greatest ones graduate. And she, called Sienna Twill, I think I already said it, at the beginning of the novel, she's already out of the school, which is kind of a new thing to a young adult because normally we see the inside of the school and not the outside. But she's outside of the school and she's going to the house of her tutor because she's going to be an apprentice magician for a period of time that we don't know if it consists in 2 years or 6 years. It depends of the person's ability to do magic and what the tutor thinks that they can do in those years. So she, and now I have to talk a little bit about the magic system so you can understand the rest of the story. So in this world, the magic system is fairly complex and fairly nice. I personally enjoyed it, and you can see that this author was taught by Brandon Sanderson because her magic system was one of the greatest points of the story, as it is in his stories, and it was fairly uncommon. And in this world, you can manipulate anything that has been created by men. So any material that men made, you can possess a magic that will influence it. Personally, I really enjoy that magic system, and what we have here is that she wanted to manipulate, I believe, iron or another type of material. That wasn't the one that she is going to manipulate, which is paper. And why? Because she was the graduated at the top of her class, and because they don't have a lot of paper magicians in this world, they decided to put her working on paper. And you can say, well, that's fine, she can learn the other one after that. But no, you can't, because in this world, when you make a connection to one of the materials, you can only perform magic with that material alone. And so obviously for her, it's a big shock, and she is very sad when she goes to meet her tutor and when she goes to do her apprenticeship. But then she meets him, and he is an eccentric kind of god of paper that does anything on paper, and pretty much she learns how to do stuff and animate drawings. Like, for instance, if you do a paper bird, the bird will come to life and it would actually sing and fly and everything. So it is pretty amazing, and you can animate words on a book, which for us readers is fairly awesome. So she starts to get used to that, and obviously this cannot be the entire plot of the book. So then you have a villain, or a group of villains that are the mages that decide to do forbidden magic. And those mages remember that humans are also born from humans, so you should be able to manipulate their flesh. And that sounds like a villainous thing to do, you know, ripping someone open and manipulate their flesh and their blood. So obviously that is forbidden magic, and obviously that is going to be the challenge that our main character has to go up against. And I don't want to say anything else because I do believe that it will be spoiler. So now I'm just going to proceed to why I think that this book is good, but I don't really want to know the rest of the story. So for starters, the magic system. Obviously the magic system is great. I loved it, and as I said, is the best part of this book. The paper magicians are called folders, and what they do is by folding, like doing origamis, they can animate anything and everything that is made of paper. So paper is basically their power, and if you have paper with you, you can do pretty much anything. Which doesn't mean that it is the best attack way. It could be a very great defense way, but it has its pros and cons, obviously, as all types of magic do in this world. But after that, everything gets a little bit childish, in my opinion. So although I did enjoy the plot, and I can't say a lot about this because it's supposed to be a non-spoiler review, I didn't really enjoy where it is going in the rest of the books. Because where it is going is that our main character is forming a loving relationship with her tutor, with her professor, and although I don't see anything wrong in that, and I actually do love that trope when it is well made, I think that this relationship fairly just fell out of the sky, because there was no freaking reason for someone that you know like a month ago for you to be so infatuated with him when you are described as a main character that is very practical, rational, and only thinks about succeeding in your professional life. So there's no way in hell that the person that was described to me in the first pages and that was so skeptical about the person that she had in front of her suddenly fell in love with him just because of stuff that happened. And if you read this book, you could say, well, there was stuff that happened that could actually lead to that. And I would say, fine, but it's still very childish and very, oh, this is a romance book and not as fantasy as I would like kind of book. So I'm kind of comparing this with Brandon Sanderson books because she was tutored by Brandon Sanderson. He was her teacher. And I think you can see that influence in the magic system, but I think you can't see that in the plot, which is good in a way because a new author has to be it has to have her own voice in a way. But at the same time, it's not very good because she picks up a plot of a major romance coming out of nowhere to just continue to the second and third book, and that is why I don't want to know what happens in the second and third book. So this book was actually nice. The final conflict that you all know that is going to happen, so it's not a spoiler, was pretty cool, I have to say, and there were some stuff that happened that made me think, well, maybe I should read the next book. But then the ending of this book was so childish, was so... Oh, I figured that was coming. I was just hoping that it wouldn't because it just destroyed everything that I read kind of ending. That I just decided that I am not going to continue reading this book. So it was a fairly fast-paced novel. It was a very well-constructed plot, but it wasn't for me. And I know that I read middle grade, so... I like childish things, but I don't like a romance plot coming out of nowhere just because the two main characters have to mate up. Like, I don't like that, and I am very sorry. I am not criticizing the book in any way because, again, the magic system, the plot, and the character voices were great, but there wasn't any character development, and although our protagonist is 19, she is supposed to be a person that already thinks a little bit out of the box of the young adult kind of thing, and by the way, I'm not insulting young adult genre because it's one of the most that I read, but I'm just saying that I was just expecting something else. And because of that, my expectations were a little bit crushed in a way. It wasn't as bad as I heard some people saying, because I've heard really negative reviews about this, and I have to say that I really enjoyed it. I read pretty fast for someone that has a lot to do and hasn't read as fast as I should in a while. I did read it pretty fast, but at the same time, I know that I did it because it wasn't a fairly complex plot. It didn't make me think about it. I wasn't waiting and gasping for the next cliffhanger that was going to happen. And I think that the book wrapped up pretty well. Like, it is an open ending in a way, but you all know that the open ending is going to develop into something in the next books. So you don't need the next books. It's just there to create the romantic plot ending that you want to see. So that, it's basically my problem. I would like it to be more focused in fantasy and in learning more of the details of the material magic system in a way, instead of being about this. And yeah, that was my particular problem with this book. So that is all for this review. Guys, if you've read this book, please tell me what you thought about it. I enjoyed it to a point, but as I said, I don't really want to continue reading because I do believe that there are better books that I really want to read and that I have to have time to read, so I'm not going to focus my time on this. And I don't even know what I'm going to do with this book, if I'm going to reread it, if I'm going to just stay with him or unhaul it, I don't know. But I enjoyed it, but it's not one of my favorite books ever. I just have to say that. So if you know anything about this book, if you think differently of me or the same, please tell me so in the comments down below, and happy readings to you all. Bye!